There is a truth not everyone is ready to accept. Not everyone deserves your help. That statement may sound harsh at first, but in fact, it holds a profound wisdom rooted deeply in Buddhist teachings. Throughout our journey as human beings, we are often taught that helping others is good, noble, and righteous. Since childhood, we were praised for sharing our toys, helping the elderly cross the street, or comforting someone in pain. Kindness and compassion became virtues we were encouraged to preserve. But as we grow older, reality quietly unfolds a different lesson. There are people who, the more you help, the more you suffer. The more you reach out your hand, the more they drag you down. They don't seek help to grow. They seek attachment to avoid facing themselves. In such cases, kindness no longer shines. It becomes the very chain that binds you to suffering. The Buddha once said, "Compassion must walk hand in hand with wisdom." Not every cry for help is meant to be answered. Not everyone you care for should remain in your life. Some relationships, no matter how deep they once were, must be released when they become burdens on the soul. This video is not here to teach coldness, but clarity. It does not promote selfishness. It encourages self-preservation. Because a person who truly needs help will always show signs of a desire to change. Someone who only leans on others will gradually pull you away from the light. Let this video serve as a mirror to reflect within yourself, to realize that some boundaries must be drawn, and some people, no matter how close they once were, should no longer receive your precious energy. In Buddhism, compassion is not merely a soft heart or a fleeting moment of pity. It is a subtle and sacred energy born from a deep understanding of the suffering of others, accompanied by a sincere wish to help them transcend that suffering. However, this compassion becomes dangerous when it is not grounded in wisdom. The truth is, not everyone wants to be saved. Not everyone is ready to change. Some cry for help, not because they are drowning, but because they want you to drown with them. The Buddha taught love without wisdom leads to confusion. A person with a kind heart, if lacking discernment, may find themselves trapped in the very cycles of suffering they hoped to heal, used, drained, and ultimately disconnected from their own peace. Wisdom within compassion is the ability to discern who truly seeks help and who uses their suffering as a means to cling, to manipulate, or to avoid responsibility. It is the awakening that allows you to act without being swept away by emotion, to help others without losing your own grounding. Wise compassion is when you reach out, but do not let yourself be pulled under. It is when you can say no without guilt, when you can care deeply for someone, yet still uphold the sacred boundary that protects your peace. This is not easy to practice, for the heart naturally softens when we see someone we love in pain. But in those moments, you must remember to help someone is not to lose yourself. It is to walk together toward the light. Wise compassion is a noble virtue, not loud, not boastful, but strong enough to heal, and wise enough to know when it is time to step back. Not everyone in life is worthy of your wholehearted help. The Buddha taught that compassion must be accompanied by mindfulness. When you give your heart to someone who lacks the will to grow, who refuses to awaken, your kindness can unknowingly become the very condition that keeps them trapped in delusion. These are 5 types of people. you must learn to step back from, no matter how close they may be to your heart. 1. The victim who manipulates. This is the kind of person who makes you feel sorry for them, always the one who suffers, always caught in pain, always in need of saving. But strangely, no matter how many times you help, nothing changes. In fact, things often get worse. They don't really want to heal. They just want someone to lean on, so they never have to face themselves. Some wear their suffering like a mask. They speak of a life filled with sorrow, injustice, betrayal, and they repeat these stories endlessly, crying endlessly, yet never once do they take action to change. They don't need a solution. They need an audience, a rescuer, a shoulder to continue playing the role of the victim. And if you're not mindful, you'll become trapped in their story, unable to leave. Helping such a person is like pouring water into a bottomless jar. Not only will you exhaust yourself, but they will never grow. The Buddha taught, only extend your hand when the other is reaching upward, not when their spirit is pulling you downward. Learn to distinguish between those who genuinely seek transformation and those who simply want to pull others into their suffering. 2. The ungrateful one. Gratitude is a sign of an awakened heart. Someone who is truly grateful will remember even the smallest gesture. But the ungrateful, no matter how much you give, they take it as something owed. They never say thank you. They accept your help and come back for more without ever pausing to acknowledge your effort. Worse, they may even resent you if you dare say no. What they want is not your compassion. They want your service. Helping such a person is like planting seeds in a desert. Nothing will grow. Instead of appreciation, they begin to treat you like a tool, a resource, and over time, your kindness becomes a burden. The Buddha taught, do not pour water into a broken cup. Someone who does not value your presence is not worthy of your compassion, because when your kindness is met with entitlement, it no longer generates good karma. It generates exhaustion. 3. The constant liar. Deception is one of the greatest barriers between a person and the truth. Chronic liars do not live in reality. They live in a world of their own creation, built on excuses, manipulation, and illusion. Each time you help someone like this, you are not helping a person. You're feeding an illusion. They will lie, repeat their mistakes, hurt others, and then lie again. And if you give them your trust and support, you may find yourself entangled in their web, used to protect their falsehoods, even blamed for their downfall. The Buddha does not teach us to hate liars, but to step away from untruth. Helping a liar is like planting a lotus in stone. It cannot take root. 4. The chronic taker. Human relationships are meant to be reciprocal, like earth and rain, wind and sail. But some people only know how to take. They absorb your time, your money, your care, yet they never give anything in return, not even the smallest act of concern. Such people are not poor in material wealth. They are impoverished in spirit. They are like dry wells, always needing to be filled, never once overflowing to nourish others. Help them, and you will slowly feel yourself becoming empty. They don't see your sacrifice, don't notice your exhaustion, because they are centered only on themselves. The Buddha taught, give not to receive, but to maintain the balance of the universe. Yet when giving becomes one-sided, it is no longer generosity, it is self-harm in disguise. 5. The willfully ignorant. Some people don't refuse to learn because they're incapable. They do so because they're afraid to change. They stay within their comfort zone, even if that zone is filled with suffering. Offer them insight, and they respond with anger. Show them another path, and they mock you. They do not listen. They only wait for a chance to argue. Helping such people is like speaking to a wall. Nothing penetrates, and the more effort you give, the more discouraged you become. Compassion is not dragging someone out of the darkness when they still choose to close their eyes. True compassion is knowing when to wait and when to let go. Some seeds take time to grow. Forcing them to sprout in winter only leaves you bitter. There is a common misconception that if we are truly compassionate, we must always say yes, always be available, always give, even when we are running on empty. But the Buddha taught boundaries are not selfishness, they are wisdom. Just as a river needs its banks to avoid becoming a flood, kindness needs limits to prevent turning into self-harm. A boundary is not distance, it is sacred space, created to preserve your energy, your clarity, and your inner peace. Setting healthy boundaries begins with recognizing your own worth. When you understand that your spirit is precious, you stop allowing it to be drained by those who only know how to take. Learn to say no, not to push others away, but to protect what is quietly being taken from you. A boundary is when you still love, but refuse to be swept away. When you still listen, but do not follow the chaos. When you decline to help, not out of coldness, but out of deep understanding that your help, in this case, helps no one. Boundaries are compassion tempered by experience, by tears, and by awakening. They are not walls. They are wisdom in motion. On the path of awakening, we encounter many people, some who open our hearts wide, and others who teach us the importance of closing our hearts gently to protect our peace. Knowing who to help and who to release is not about judgment. It is a deep spiritual art, rooted in the balance of wisdom and compassion. There may be people you've loved with all your heart, family members you've sacrificed so much for. But if that love no longer helps you grow, if your efforts only bring more pain, then perhaps what you truly need is not to give more, but to return and care for yourself. The Buddha said, if you find no one to walk with you on the spiritual path, walk alone. These are not words of loneliness, but an invitation to return to the stillness within. Sometimes, letting go is not cruelty. It is the highest form of love, when we allow others the space to face themselves, and we allow ourselves the peace to heal. We cannot save those who do not wish to save themselves. We cannot help those who use their pain as a leash to hold us back. True compassion is the ability to step away at the right moment, so we do not support delusion and do not lose ourselves in the process. And most importantly, you are not heartless for walking away from toxic relationships. In fact, this may be the very moment you begin to truly grow, when love transforms from blind sacrifice into a radiant light that guides you both. If you are in a relationship that drains you, wounds you, and leaves you exhausted, give yourself permission to pause. Sit quietly, look deep within, and ask, is my help awakening this person or just helping them stay asleep? The answer will come in silence, in breath, in mindful steps. If this video has touched your heart, if something within you has quietly awakened through these reflections, we invite you to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below sharing your thoughts, and like this video to help spread this mindful energy to others who may need it. Let us build a community where compassion always walks beside wisdom, where love does not hurt, and where each soul finds its way home. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha O.